What's up, YouTube? This is CasaNovaSS and Swank Nation coming at you. Today we are bringing you something a little different. We're going to show you a little tutorial on how to set up Vixen. Vixen is a program for sequencing Christmas lights, something like this. As you can see, the lights are kind of dancing with the music, things like that. Swank Nation every year sets up two different houses that basically do exactly that. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what that looks like, how we do it, what it takes to get that set up and going. So first thing, we download Vixen. The current one is 3.3. That's the most recent one they've got out right now. So we'll kind of just dive in. First thing you got to do is you got to set up your display, which is basically what types of lights you have and how you want to group them into certain categories. Like you can see a little picture of a house down here. Typically on this house, you would like group this right section of the house and the left section of the house together. And as you can see here, we have those different things called out. So I've already built out this house, but I'll add a couple things in just so we can walk through the process and you can see how everything works. First thing you want to do is pick the type of element you want to add once you're in your display setup. If it's just a normal set of like Christmas lights, normal, plug them into the power, just like you'd put on your tree or something like that, that is basically a single item. So that's the thing we want to use here. Click add. You can add a new element. You're going to want to be pretty specific on what you call these. So let's say we want to do this garage, and we're going to do 3 different strings along the garage. One here on the left, one across the top, and then one down the right-hand side, kind of around the garage door. So we'll call this one the left garage. Then we can add another one and call it the top garage, because it's the top of the garage. And we'll do one more called the right garage. Okay. Now, that's great. When you go in, you can sequence those individually, but sometimes you want to turn all 3 of those on. And to make it a little easier to group things together, you can create one that's just called garage, a single item, and then highlight these and drag them into it. Now it basically groups all 3 of these together. So let's say I want to turn all 3 of these on. I can tell this one element garage, which is now called garage 2, to turn on, and that'll turn all 3 of these on. If I want to do things individually to these 3, then I can do that by just turning on and off these 3 strings of lights by themselves. So that's the basic for doing standard strings of lights. If you wanted to do arches, basically the way I've set this up is I actually have 3 arches. Each of them have 7 strings of lights, so that's arch left 1 through 7. So I've kind of grouped those all together. I have all of the 7 strings for my left arch under one grouping, and then that rolls up into a bigger arches group that you can see has my left, my middle, and my right arch all listed out. And I'll show you what those look like in a little bit, but you can't have both screens open at the same time. So just kind of show you this part, and then we'll go to show you how you add them to the picture of your house. The other big thing are the mega trees. So to do the mega tree, you're going to add that. It's going to ask you whatever you want to call it, how many strings you're going to have. Now in ours, we have, I think we want to do 20 strings. It is a pixel tree, and we have 25 pixels per string. So that's the way you want to set it up in here. They go up and down, and it's kind of a zigzag kind of configuration, but we'll configure that later. So that's how you want to set up the mega tree. You click OK basically, and it's going to set up this whole mega tree for you. You don't have to do anything other than that. It just looks crazy huge, just like that. Let's set this one up right like that. Okay, so that looks good. So when you're doing your mega tree, that's what it looks like for the pixels. Pretty simple to set up as far as this goes. The last thing I'll touch on is a pixel grid, because we got one of those going in this year. You click the plus here. You do the grid name, whatever you want to call it. We'll call this grid roof because it's going to be on the roof. It's a horizontal instead of a vertical, so all the strings are laid out horizontal in fashion. The height, we have 10 strings. Yeah, that's right, 10 strings, and they are 50 pixels wide. So then we hit OK, and that sets up your 10 string, your 50 pixels. So now I think I should have, yeah, okay, I did that right the last time too. So just making sure. So those are the 3 types of things that you'll want to set up. And so now we'll go ahead and go, you click OK, it'll save that. Now after that, you want to do a preview, setting up your preview. Normally you just, let's see, add a new preview. I don't think I want to. Yeah, we'll add a new preview. So I'm gonna. You only have one option here. Vixen display preview. You click OK. I'm gonna turn off this other one. Select the new one and do configure preview. So basically, it comes in as a complete blank screen. And to add a picture, you click this little picture icon up here, and then just browse to wherever your pictures are. Let's see, here. Here's the house. All right, so you can dim it a little. Kind of makes it darker, which makes this, when you're sequencing, it makes it a little easier to see. So I usually kind of turn it down pretty dark. All right, so here comes the next part. So up here are types of lights that you would have on your house. This one's just a normal light string. This one's a net of lights if you have one of those. This one's the pixel grid, which we'll use. And then this one here is a triangle, and then here's the mega tree. We also have some arches, which are this one. So we'll go through all 3 of those. So the garage, that's pretty easy. Turn this up just a little bit so I can see the outline of the house a little better. So I pick the left garage. I'm going to select my string and then just draw where that will be on the house. So that has basically said, whenever I turn on the left garage, this is the string of lights that I'm talking to. Now I'll click on the top of the garage, click my light again, string lights, and drag it across. So now that one's, select that one, top of the garage, it's purple. Let me know this is the one for work. So do the same with the right here, and drag it down. Now if at any time you want to change it or move it a little bit, you can hit this select button, and then you can grab the bottom, move it around, grab the top, move it around, however you need to. If you didn't quite line it up the way you want to, just be careful. It'll keep this light string selected. So if you already have it here and you try and drag it, you're going to create another string of lights. So you can click select and then select it, delete it if you need to. All right, so that's pretty simple for those. Those are pretty straightforward. Let's see, we'll go ahead and we'll do the mega tree next. I should have added a set of arches, so I'll walk you through how to do an arch. All right, the mega tree, you're going to select the mega tree and go up here to mega tree, and you're going to want to give yourself some space to drag this out because it's going to be pretty big, and then you'll shrink it down later once you get everything looking the way you want. So once you release and it kind of drags it out there, click the select button so you can move it around and put it in a place where you can see it easily. So down here, once we click on it, the select tool, you'll see our string type is pixels. Light size, this basically makes all these little dots bigger or smaller. You can see it just keeps making them huge. I usually leave it about 2 or 3. Really pretty good. String coverage in degrees. So right now it's set up for this tree has strings going all the way around 360 degrees, but our trees are just 180 degrees. You can see it takes those 25 strings or 20 strings that we have and kind of just brings them into a 180 degree. So the string count, we have 20 lights per string or 25. So they start at the bottom and go to the top, I believe. And then if you want to change things like the top height, that just kind of changes the configuration of how the top looks. And the top width, you want it to come to a perfect point, or It's a little wider at the top, just depending on making it look right for your configuration, things like that. So kind of get it to what you think looks right, drag it down. You can make it smaller, make it fit how you think it's going to look when it's up against the house, just so you can kind of see, like, you want it to be pretty proportional to how the house looks, because when you if you're going to put words or something on there, you want it to come out legible, and so you want it to be kind of close to how it'll look like when you're standing in the street looking at it. So so for that, that's done. You're ready. That's all set up. The grid roof here is what's going to be a pixel grid. So you select the pixel grid. When you're on the roof, select the pixel grid and drag it out. Now you can see this one's dragging vertical strings, and we want horizontal strings. So select with the select tool and click on the string. And here in the string orientation, we click horizontal. And that'll, boom, stretch them out from so they're going horizontal instead of vertical. So that's pretty simple. You've got your 50 pixels basically per string, and we got 10 strings. So those are all laid out just like that. You're done. You can change the size or whatever, wherever you're going to put it. You're like putting it across the garage or have it strung up somewhere. I'll just put it up here now so we can see it easily. So the last thing that I didn't do is arches. Now this is going to save as soon as you click close, so don't worry about that. Just go ahead and click save. So I am going to go back in here and add a single item of new arch. And let's see. I'll just so I have 7 strings of lights in my arches. However many you have is what you want to set up here. So I'm going to do 7 just to kind of show you how it works. So I take these 7 and I'm going to drag them into my arch. So now my arch has all 7 strings of lights. So then we'll draw that out in our preview here and show you what that looks like. So now we've got our new arch. So we're going to select the big arch and select this rainbow, which is the arch. I'm going to draw it here. You don't want to start kind of high top left, and it drags down and shows you what it looks like. So now click select. It obviously doesn't look like it should at this point, and it won't. So don't worry about that right now. We're going to adjust it. So the thing right now is it's got 7 lights, and that obviously isn't going to work to make it visually look like what it will actually look like when it's actually up in your yard. So you're going to want to pick this light count, and you're going to want it to be a multiple of 7, whatever that is. I typically like to have 6 to 7 lights in between, showing on each string, so that you can kind of see each string as it goes. So let's do 6 lights. So we'll do 42, and the light size is 3. Now, if I did, so you can see that kind of filled out this section a lot better. So now it looks like a continuous string of lights. So when I do my my fades and my like a spin or a chase or something like that, it's going to fill in that whole section. Now, if I did 49, it's going to add, 7 more lights, so it kind of gets a little more filled in the further and further you go. And you can go all the way up to 56 if you want. It's really tight. I mean, you can do even 70, and there'd be 10 of them in there for each string. So most likely you're going to shrink this down to be the size it will be in your yard, and 70 kind of gets a little cramped. So I'm going to stick with 42 because it just gives it some space in between each light, things like that. So this is when it gets a little tricky, because you're going to want to. You can see right now when I select this string 1, basically, which will be this left string, this arch is split up into 7 sections. Basically, the 4th section is the middle section, and there's 3 on each side. So right now, instead of the first string of lights being a whole section of lights, which will be 6 dots worth. It's only the very first dot, and then this one's the second dot, third dot, fourth dot, fifth dot, sixth dot, seventh dot. So as I program this, it won't look right. We have to adjust how many dots are associated with each string of lights. So in here we go to linked elements and we click the little dots here. And this is where we can adjust what it'll look like in our preview. So we go to, we're going to select, I did 6 per because I did 42. So that's 6 basically of these dots that will need to be associated with each one. So I highlight all 6 of those, click my first string of lights, and I go to the next 6, which is 7 through 12, and double click on string number 2. Then we'll go through 18, string number 3, 24, 4, 30, string number 5, 36, string number 6, and the rest of them go to string number 7. Click OK. Now when you go through here, you can see it's going through different sections of lights turning purple rather than a single individual light. And that is what we want to look. Okay? All right. Once you get this all looking exactly like you want it, got all these different lights added to the house, blue all over the place, you can click close. Close that, and we start a new sequence. Your lights, your channels will come in on the left-hand side here. The first thing you want to do is associate your music, which is this button right here. Find wherever your music is. It's called 2016 Mashup. And it'll, depending on how long it is, it'll take it a little bit to load in. And then up at the top here, it's going to add a waveform. So you can kind of see when the beats are, things like that. It really helps out to make it a lot easier. You click in this little bar here where the time is, that's where it'll start playing the music from. So if without this, it's always going to start from the very beginning. No matter where you are in sequencing, if you're pushing the spacebar, which is the default play button, it's going to start over at the beginning. But if I bring it down here, I can start right where I need to be. Okay? That's a helpful little tip just as you're going through and play where you need to be. All right, so let's go into adding something to the sequence. We want it to do something when noise plays. So we'll start with our arch down here. Remember, it's around this area somewhere in our yard, I guess. So let's say we just want to turn it on when this first beat hits. So we're going to bring a pulse. So we bring the pulse down and just drag it in. And you kind of see this is the light. You see it start down here, it's bright down here. That's exactly what it's going to do. It's going to fade the lights from off to on. Well, I prefer to have the lights do the exact opposite of that. Start very bright and then fade out. So with my things selected, I double click on intensity. It brings up basically my curve. Now you can drag this to do whatever you want. You can make it go up and down, do loops, rises and falls, all that kind of stuff. But if you just want to switch it, you can just do reverse curve, and boom, you're ready to go. Now you can see it's going to start bright and then fade off. I like it to boom, hit bright right at that impact of whatever beat I got going at the moment, and then bam, kind of fades out as that beat goes away. So now if I click play, we can see hopefully right around when this beat hits, we should see that whole arch come on. Okay, so we're gonna hit play. In my taskbar, for some reason, it's not. Wait. Get it to go away. Let's get this up. All right, so now hit play. Boom! You can see the whole thing comes on, fades out. That's exactly what we wanted. So I'm going to shrink it down. You can shrink it to make it take longer to fade out. Shrink it down, it'll take less time to fade out, all that stuff. So that's going to turn the whole arch on. Now let's say I just want to turn one light on, or one string of lights instead of the whole arch? Well, then you expand this out. You take your pulse, drag it down. Another nice thing is you can copy and paste. So let's say I like this curve better, so I can just copy, paste. And so then let's say we're going to have first, the third, and the fifth lights all come on at the same time. Let's see, we can, so they're going to try and come on at the same time as that second pulse. So here we go. So there you go. You can see that the lights turn on, all of them, and just 3 of them turn on after that. Great thing is if you want to like do some type of spin or chase, you can just drag that down into the big piece, you know, the overall arch, and set up your chase. Now, I find that chases are way better if you change the intensity back around the other way, like I had them before. Sometimes you can even add a point in here and kind of have it just fade off real fast at the end. To add points, you hold Control and you can add points, and then I think you can delete them by hitting Alt and clicking on them. Okay, so now that's my intensity of each string of lights. When they come on, they're coming on at 100%, and they're slowly fading, and bam, die off at the end. So that will make a little different effect. We'll pull it out here a little bit, and you can see the lights are going to kind of chase one after the other. Now that looks very like rigid, not very smooth at all. So shrink it down in time a little bit, which will help a little. You notice only one light string is on at the same time. So that's where this pulse overlap comes into play, where basically this is turning on one light as soon as the one previous has already turned all the way off. Well, we want a little overlap on there, so while one's fading out, the other one's turning on. Makes things look a lot better. So this is in milliseconds? Something like that. I think it's milliseconds. Maybe I can't remember the duration, but you can kind of play with it to see how much overlap you want. This one's pretty short, so I'll go with 100. And now we'll go ahead and play this. You can see it kind of gets a little better. Shrink it down. Now it's really starting to look better. I think 200 is going to be where we want to be, or make it smooth. Yeah, see, so now it's getting to be a little more smooth, a little faster. I think it's got to be faster. There we go. Now it's really starting to look a lot better. If we don't like the way, I think it's needs to fade out a little faster, just to kind of make it a little smoother of an arch. So fade it out, and there you go. That's a nice little smooth arch going right there. All right, so that's arches. They're a lot of fun to play with. You can bounce them back and forth, things like that. So let's say I want to bounce this back and forth. I can switch this around in my direction. All I gotta do is flip that. Now when I play this, it's going to go one way and then bounce right back and go the other way. Maybe I wanted to start a little faster than that. I can drag them over top, kind of lines them up, and boom, boom, it bounces right back. So that's kind of fun. You can do a lot of fun things with those. Your mega tree, which is that big thing, that's where you get to do all these fun pixel lighting effects. I'm not going to give a lot away here, so we're just going to show you what bars looks like. You drag that in and drag it as short or as long as you want. You've got all these different settings over here. Your string setup should be all set up the way it should, because we set that up in the preview and things like that. This is where you can set up now all the different things about this effect. What type of direction it goes in for this effect, the iterations, repeats, if it's in 3D, highlight, what type of colors you want, and kind of see it all place out here. So when we play this effect, you can see those up. Those 3 different colors, it's moving them up. So I think you can repeat it. Make it speed up. Shorter you make it, the faster it goes, things like that. Alright, so that's those in a nutshell. And then, yeah, the garage basically works just like the arches do. You turn those on. You turn the whole thing on by using the group. If I turn the whole thing on, all three of them turn on. If I do just the top, then just the top turns on. And then the grid roof, which is the pixel grid on the roof, basically works the exact same as the mega tree. So you can change, for some reason I've noticed you sometimes have to change this to horizontal. It defaults to vertical, but then you can play that and you can do exactly what you needed to do there. So that is how you set up Vixen and get it going. That basically is a really short, fast tutorial on how to get it going. So if you need to pause and replay that, just do whatever you need to do. But that should get you up and running. And if you have any questions or anything like that, put them in the comments. We'll read them. We'll get back to you and let you know how things go. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope that was useful. And you guys have a good evening.